Exploring the controversial claims, could Ted Bundy be innocent? The case of Theodore Bundy, one of America's most notorious serial killers, has captivated the public's attention for decades. However, despite his conviction and subsequent execution in 1989, there have been persistent claims we will delve and into
theories
some of the key arguments Ted put Bundy forth may by have those been who innocent. question his guilt, examining the facts and evidence surrounding the case. 1. Lack of physical evidence. One of the primary arguments challenging Bundy's guilt is the lack of substantial physical evidence connecting him to the crimes. Despite being linked to over 30 murders, there was limited forensic evidence tying Bundy to these crimes. During his trial, the prosecution could not present any DNA evidence as it was not available at the time. Instead, they relied heavily on eyewitness testimonies, which are known to be fallible and influenced by factors such as stress and memory biases. 2. Inconsistent witness testimonies. Many of the witness testimonies presented during Bundy's trial were inconsistent and conflicted with each other. Eyewitness identification, a critical component of the prosecution's case, has been proven to be susceptible to errors and biases. Numerous witnesses admitted to uncertainties or confusion during identification processes, raising doubts about the reliability of their testimonies. Some witnesses even identified Bundy in lineups after seeing his image extensively in the media, which could have influenced their memories. 3. Bundy's defense strategies. Throughout his trial, Bundy represented himself, showcasing a remarkable understanding of legal procedures and tactics. He exploited weaknesses in the prosecution's case and challenged the credibility of the evidence presented. Bundy's defense strategies resulted in numerous mistrials and a protracted legal battle, creating doubt about the completeness and fairness of his trial. Some argue that his legal acumen allowed him to cast doubt on the evidence and create confusion among the jury. 4. Alternate suspects and serial killers. Critics argue that the authorities were fixated on Bundy as the primary suspect, overlooking other potential perpetrators. Various unsolved murders and disappearances during the same period bear striking similarities to Bundy's modus operandi. These cases raise the possibility of other serial killers operating at the same time, potentially leading to wrongful convictions or overlooking additional suspects. Some theorists suggest that Bundy may have taken advantage of the public's fear and fascination with serial killers, leading to his being scapegoated for crimes he did not commit. 5. Psychological assessments and psychopathy. Another aspect that raises questions about Bundy's guilt is the psychological assessments conducted on him. Many experts who evaluated Bundy diagnosed him with psychopathy, a personality disorder characterized by manipulative behavior and a lack of empathy. However, some argue that psychopathy alone does not prove guilt and that it is possible for someone with psychopathic traits to not be a serial killer. Therefore, they contend that the link between Bundy's diagnosis and his guilt should be reevaluated. 6. Inconsistencies in Bundy's confessions. Bundy confessed to a number of murders while on death row, providing details about the crimes that only the killer would know. However, critics point out that these confessions were often inconsistent and changed over time. Some argue that Bundy may have embellished his involvement in certain cases to maintain control and manipulate the system. These inconsistencies raise doubts about the veracity of his confessions and suggest the possibility of false admissions. 7. Potential miscarriage of justice. Given the aforementioned issues surrounding the case, there is a concern that a miscarriage of justice may have occurred in Bundy's trial. Critics argue that the cumulative effect of the lack of physical evidence, inconsistent witness testimonies, and questionable confessions creates a reasonable doubt about his guilt. They contend that the rush to convict Bundy, fueled by public outrage and the need to bring closure to the victims' families, may have led to an unjust outcome. Conclusion. While the majority of the evidence and public opinion firmly believe in Ted Bundy's guilt, the existence of these arguments and claims questioning his guilt cannot be ignored. The lack of physical evidence, inconsistencies in witness testimonies, Bundy's defense strategies, the possibility of other suspects, psychological assessments, inconsistencies in his confessions, and concerns about a potential miscarriage of justice all contribute to the ongoing debate surrounding his guilt. Regardless of the controversies, Bundy's case remains a chilling reminder of the heinous crimes committed and the impact they had on the victims and their families.